So when I think about the reasons why a lot of people are like struggling relationally, I do think that a lot of it has to do with our culture and just, we're living in a day and age where we're changing so much as individuals because we're learning so much every single day. And I think when you're in a relationship or a long-term relationship and you've grown like exponentially because of merely information, like not experience, right? That absolutely can put people at odds in two different places, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, etc. And I do think in part with a lot of people being so self-focused, I think that plays a role. When people talk about like influencers and their relationships, I just think that like if you are someone and you become an influencer and your partner is not an influencer, I think just fame is incredibly corrosive. Any like increment of fame is very corrosive to authenticity and to a person's well-being, that I think you have to be a certain type of person who's for that lifestyle. And I think when you talk about couples who've been together before influence and then after influence, I don't think everybody's built for that. Also think that relationships obviously end for marital reasons, but I do think that something about the growth and the information that we are all receiving is definitely playing a huge role. And I also think a lot of people wanting to have access to wealth in some type of capacity, which is nothing wrong with that. We all want to grow, we all want to be successful and do great things. But I also think it's getting to a point where I think a lot of people are so obsessed with acquiring some type of tax bracket, to the point where people are putting off love until later. I do sometimes wonder if this actually will contribute to better relationships down the line, because I question whether or not if people are going to have more, greater self-fulfillment. If they will, then find partners who are also in that space and who also opted out of relationships and decided to opt in for personal development. But one of the things that I know to be true is that social media is not a real place, okay? It's informative, there's a lot going on here, but it's not the real world. And so in many ways, it's why you can see people and even how they act and how they show up in real life is completely different, because, they can be completely adored online, but in real life, it's like, you're just like everybody else, you know what I mean? And it's not because, people don't know you, but it's just life. You know what I mean? Like in the real world, we all kind of have something, but like for the most part, we're all just people. So yeah, I just was thinking about that. I don't know. I just think that relationships today, with people just becoming very like choose yourself, incredibly selfish. As much as we talk about capitalism, a lot of people like to critique capitalism and complain about it. A lot of people are striving to have and acquire, and I do think the cost of that is relationships.